Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
I'm Scott.
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Fish Sticks. Welcome to Witches Betwixt.
The Great Unfuckening 2.0 is about to happen, and it's going to be a shit show.
Man, can that be the title of this episode?
Sure.
It's a great name.
You know what? Let's talk about that, because what I wanted to talk about as well, you're already recording too, ain't you?
Yeah, I've been recording for the past 2 minutes or so. 2-3 minutes.
And you can just clip it in at whatever point you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing too that I was gonna say. The cool thing is we can just kind of talk about what the fuck ever, right?
Exactly.
And the idea I had was this memory that had popped up from a while ago when I was younger. I typed it out in chat for y'all. I don't know if you saw it, but since we're recording, I should repeat it. There's this website I came across when I was a kid, and this was way before Photoshop was competent enough to fully simulate environments, you know what I mean? And alter time and night and day really, really visibly realistically. And I scrolled across this page, and they had all of these rock formations set up in spiral patterns all across these lush verdant landscapes, and it was in another language that I couldn't read, which Google Translate told me was German. And the words that I got out of it were sacred light, right? And at one point, one of the only words that I understood on one of them was the ritual is complete, the gate is closed, which I now know is a fucking magic term as an adult, right? Looking back. So I'm whoa, were these guys actually posting pictures of some magical fucking wonders that they were doing on the internet back in the day? And I went to dive back into it, and I could find absolutely nothing about it. It's just gone. Like purged from the internet. I couldn't even find it on the way back machine, sort of thing, So I don't know. I was just wondering if y'all had ever heard about anything like that, and what's the significance of stone spirals out there. But we can also talk about the Great Unfuckening and whatever the fuck we want, really.
Since I get good vibes off of these deep fried gritty memes, I posted them on the DKMU Facebook with "Which one of you fucked with this? Because I love you."
Oh, good lord!
I'm gonna start a fight.
Are you a rock star?
I'm a motherfucking. I don't know. No, I'm not. I'm not cool enough or cute enough to be a rock star.
Aww. I was hoping.
I would be like the short trash goblin Jack Black rock star if I was a rock star.
Yeah, so this is going to be the big chaos episode, and I guess we should kick the hour timer now, since we're aware that we're recording, and who knows when we're going to clip it. So yeah, what do we really want to dive into on this? What are we feeling?
I'm kind of interested in magical communities, right? Like these online magical communities, because I'm trying to grow the Witches Betwixt community, and you and Fish have a lot of experience with growing DKMU, you know what I mean? It's not like y'all founded it, but you've been help growing it and taking care of it, So
that's a good topic, yeah.
Yeah, because it's I don't know, I kind of want to how did that evolve? How did that naturally evolve and progress? That's what I'm just so interested. And then when it gets fucked, how do you
pass the torch to Fish?
Yeah, and then I guess when it because we were talking, yeah, how do you unfuck it when it gets fucked?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. First off, you need something that people are interested in enough to bring together, right? I obviously didn't create DKMU, and I joined it in 2010. So I had only really came into a moderator position simply because I had been around long enough. And there also happens to be periods where inactivity happens, right? Because in any community, you're going to have fluxes, right? You're going to have periods of super activity where everything's really busy and you have to fucking meet the server because everybody won't shut the fuck up. And then you have other periods where nothing's getting posted and it feels like the whole thing's died, right? So it's kind of a balancing act, right? And what always kept DKMU alive throughout those years was people coming back to it because of a shared interest, because of common whatever, right? Be it a common goal, wanting to change the world, be it a common image that they had shared and built up throughout the ages, be it just a common grounds of friendship and camaraderie between the people that were there, because God knows that the original group wasn't built as some internet space. It was built as a friendship space between the individuals, not just friendship alone, right? But it was to quote one of the earlier works, It is found in members who open their doors to others who find themselves in the favorable events of a visit or unfavorable events of an eviction. It is found in the bonds between those who stand against whatever. I can't remember the rest of it, right? And it's talking about how, like, what the group really isn't like a physical space or even anything that can truly be defined. Haha, throwing in some Dow jokes. But it's something that in its essence had enough oomph to stay around because it was interesting and people put effort into it to keep it going, right? People worked on the God forums, people discussed stuff, people would be able to go there and have conversations about stuff they wouldn't be able to on other parts of the internet, like honest to God conversations about the psychoactive effects of drugs on your magical practice and stuff like that, right? So you had it kind of like self-sustaining naturally, kind of like any community does when you have enough people who want to talk about the same thing. This is why 4chan exists, right? However, what really brought DKMU into its modern air quotations community iteration is like a deliberate experiment that we've kind of started on the Discord, which is when we started deciding to moderate the space rather stiffly, right? Because originally, when it was like early internet, and it was just like our friends and like people who knew each other inviting it in, it was a matter of just like if you knew someone, that's probably how you were going to find it out, or you ran into one of the propaganda pieces that like pulled people in, like what happened with me. I found one of the YouTube videos, right? And then that's how the group would grow. But as the name gets out there and as documents are made and as time goes on, bashies find out about it and people come in and start fucking around. You start getting these real chudlords coming in and trying to shift the overtone window because they want to make everything about them, right? So what it really comes down to is like finding a balance between like making sure bad actors can't be in your community and steering it down a bad road, but also not being too heavy-handed in determining what your community needs to be functioning about, because a community is a consensus, right? A community is nothing more than the members who comprise it, right? Like if I were to talk about what I think of when I talk about the DKMU community, I would literally just sit here listing off members from our Discord server because they as individuals are what make it a rich and wonderful experience. And what people get out of community is like other people who they want to spend their time with, who they enjoy the company of and can have good conversations with that they can't necessarily get other places, and just have a place to share their thoughts and feel validated on some regard, or actually like intellectually challenged or whatever they're looking for, and every group's going to be different, but you have to kind of put a certain degree of effort into it, right? Like admins don't do anything if they're just sitting there off the website, never fucking reading anything, and then just coming in when they're tagged because there's a problem. Suddenly those admins become removed from the community and rather hated, rather than actually feeling like they're an active contributing member of the community. So like if you look at our community, in the top 10, most of us are mods. At least half of us are mods or admin, and the top 3 is admin, mod, admin. And then below that it's like a user, an admin, and then like moderators and users interlaced, so like there's a good spread of how much we're interacting with the community, because we're still community members, right? We're just people who clean up the spills. So yeah, what were you gonna say, Fish?
So it's complicated, like, because the back end and the ongoing running, not just like of the Discord, but of like any community, whether it's a culture or not, is way more work than it looks like. And especially when it comes to like a culture-based communities, occult magic-based communities, anything esoteric really, like there's a bunch of elements there that, your typical non-magic community doesn't really have to pay that much attention to. Like you have to watch people posting sigils and you have to try to determine whether or not that sigil is just, somebody sharing their work, or if they're trying to like bomb the group with some shit. Or I mean, and on the interpersonal and the social side, you have to keep watching for, the subtle and constant little trickle of chuds coming in and trying to chud shit up. And you have to be able to ID friend from foe and, spicy, ironic joke from actual serious attempt at fucking shit up. Like, you have to you have to look at the context of everything, and that makes it complicated because there's no like set playbook. If you post this thing, fuck you, because it could easily be irony. It could easily be an attempt to subvert some chuddy fucking meme. And, you know, you have to deal with interpersonal disputes. You have to deal with, you know, bad actors coming in trying to fuck around. You have to deal with like crossed wires, and you have to be a peacekeeper without making it a fishbowl where everybody believes and says exactly the same thing. Like, you have to try to calm the waters over a variety of different viewpoints and a variety of different opinions and takes on things, and just sit there with the bat in your lap and enjoy your conversation. But when people start to kind of forget the concept of mutual respect and remember the human, you have to kind of remind them. They're like, look, you are talking to another person. Can you not be a fucking prick for 10 minutes? And that's not something that we have to deal with really frequently in the DKMU Discord, but we do see it occasionally, especially when new folks come in. Like, they are anxious. They just walked into a literal beehive of people. And you know, we're chaos magicians. So the conversation is not only just off the wall, you know, pants on head crazy all the time. You've got a lot of different people with a lot of different paradigms and backgrounds, experience, all these other things.
I'm not gonna lie, when I first entered the DKMU server, it was very intimidating.
It is. And new folks that come in frequently either go real quiet because they're not real sure how to join into the conversation, or they jump directly in. I love those folks. They just go balls deep into the conversation as hard as they can, but they're also anxious and they want to be taken seriously and they want to prove their chops. And it very frequently gets them into some deep weeds because they start airing very hard line opinions, very absolute opinions about things to a group of people for whom there are no absolutes. We're fucking chaos magicians. So you occasionally get folks that come in and they're like, I want to be taken seriously, this, that, and the other. And it's like, we take you seriously, but you just relax. Or they go hard the other way into pure absurdity, and it gets to the point where it's like, you're trying real hard. And we really just want people to be chill. But a lot of folks are, like, the majority of folks are real chill. But that onboarding period, that first 48 hours can be kind of interesting for folks. So,
and honestly, like, it's hard too, like, when people start getting pissy and backbiting and they don't realize they are and you're trying to talk to them about it. Like, a lot of mod work is actually dealing with people's shitty behavior and attitude, right? And just trying to, like, talk to them, be like, yo, like, that rubs people the wrong fucking way, right? Like, for example, there's somebody I was talking to in the back rooms who we had a disagreement over, and I tagged him in something. I'm like, yo, what do you think about this? And then he, like, tried to play some absurd moral high ground when, like, he's someone who's cursed an entire country for fucking with a pop star he likes. Like, get fucked. Christ. Don't talk to me about some moral fucking high ground, right? Like, and if you don't want to do it, like, that's fine, right? Yeah. But, like, you do get people who do a lot of, like, moral posturing, and, like, it's fine to have your own personal opinions and stuff, but what people tend to really do is use their opinions to beat other people like a cudgel. And it's really subtle when it's happening, and it's hard to get them to see, because very often they'll just be like, oh, you're just, like, pissed about this or whatever. And it's that type of shit drains more moderator energy than any fucking thing else. And this person in question had literally, like, messaged me a week and a half ago and was like, hey, sorry I've been prickly lately, I'm just dealing with some stuff in my personal life. I'm like, cool, thanks for letting me know. But then, like, it translates into a conversation later on where, like, you're having a conflict and he's already acknowledged that he's getting prickly with you, right? And, like, then can't see it in the moment. Like, that shit is so fucking tiring, you know? Like, you don't ask for those little constant petty bitch fights that happen up constantly, but it's that stuff that drains you more than, like, the blow-ups, you know?
Yeah, there's always, it's always kind of a tug of war, because when you're on staff, and staff is a really weird kind of liminal position in the Discord, because, like, we ain't better. We're just the ones that picked up a mop and said, all right, we're going to keep this place relatively clean. y'all
Thank
keep
you
doing
for
your
putting
thing,
it that way.
and you know, so like it's not a position of like there is always going to be, if you're on staff anywhere, any social group online, like if you're on staff, there's going to be, you know, a sense of like authority and whatnot. But we, aside from, you know, kind of keeping shit civil, even remotely civil on the Discord, you know, it eats up time. So you know, you have to constantly deal with this mitigation and this kind of you toe the line between, you know, letting everything just become a, you know, 4chan style shit show where nobody remembers that the other people they're talking to are human. Clearly you're all a simulation in my weird solipsis nightmare. And, you know, being too, or being so conflict adverse that no disagreements happen. Like, disagreements are going to happen. That's just arguments and fights and cross wires are going to fucking happen. It's just a matter of, you know, trying to remind people, hey, you do realize that y'all are saying the same shit. You're arguing literally the same shit back to each other, you know. And when you're on staff, like, and you're trying to interact on a regular basis and keep things moving and keep not really guiding the conversation, but contributing to it and being present and being available, because that's part of what, you know, socializing as a member of staff is. Like, you're trying to make sure people understand you are fucking available. If they have a problem, they can come to you. They can, you know, consult you about whatever bullshit's going on so that you can head this stuff off before it pours over into some, you know, deep-seated bullshit drama. Like, you want to be available. You also need to be able to be available. But, like, it also puts you in the position where if you make a hot take...
Oh, God.
Woo! That's spicy.
It
that
seems
is
like
incredibly spicy sometimes. Like, and you're not allowed to be wrong as often, you know.
And people don't take, like, people will take you stating your personal opinion like it's moderated action. I can't tell you how many times I've told someone I don't like how they're talking to me and they're being a fucking asshole. And they're like, what are you going to do, moderate me? And I'm like, no, you're not breaking the rules. I'm just telling you you're being a fucking asshole. Deal with it. What the fuck? You suddenly are no longer able to voice your personal opinions without it being associated with moderated action, you know?
Yeah.
It seems
like,
like
it's...
it seems like that is kind of why communities like Witch Talk fail. Like, they're destined to fail because there's no one mopping up, because there is no point person. You know what I mean? Like, there's no one in charge.
there's not even infrastructure to allow for it in the first place. You know?
And so, like, and I think that's why these communities kind of just become so toxic so quickly, is because
apocalyptic.
I know,
Apocalyptic.
Yeah, but they become so toxic so quickly that, like, it just falls apart because it was doomed to fail anyway. It was kind of like designed to fail because there was no design, you know? And I think, you know, it reminds me of like the like, because I don't know, some people act like the Witch Talk drama is new. It's not new, because remember the days of Tumblr? As far as I'm concerned, that's just text-based TikTok.
Yeah, before it was Tumblr, it was fucking Twitter. Before it was Twitter, it was, you know, some other place, and in the beginning it was LiveJournal. So,
oh God. Don't forget how much Facebook magic group drama has gone on. Good fucking Lord.
I heard you laughing there, Scott, because you were a big user of the
Actually, people really love my Tumblr. Witchwise was where I first came. That's where I first got my handle. Was Witchwise, and like, oh my God! I mean, I actually managed to like mostly dodge
the worst of
witch drama, but of course, like, as it is in like all occult and you know, esoteric spaces, like the kind of the peacocking and the posturing, it's kind of, you know, unfortunately it's like a thing everywhere, and I fell into it a couple times, both as perpetrator, because I thought it's what you had to do to like stay afloat.
It's like it's a prison and you've got to fuck a couple of people up to get taken seriously. Yeah,
right. And
oh my God.
On the being shut down end, you know, for, you know, one time I was actually genuinely wrong, and of course they had to, like, you know, drag me through the mud. And then the second time, I honestly was kind of, I was very like, I was right, and I was kind of just, I refused to like be told about something that I know was accurate, and it wasn't like about magic and like the nature of magic. It wasn't even about anything like that. Like that's kind of, obviously up in the air. You can't really come to whatever. It was more like about historical end of things, and I was like, but this is how it actually happened. And I was like, here are my sources. Here is proof. I don't remember what it was. I just remember that, yeah, it was like a big thing. But yeah, I remember reading the drama of Witch Talk, which was like, sometimes it was absolutely insane. Like, we think that Witch Talk is bad, but Witch Blur was, whew.
Yeah, like and it's easy to get sucked into the tea and the drama and whatnot. Like, but I don't know. The most useful thing I ever did for myself, like regarding a culture social media, was to quit giving a fuck and deciding whether or not it was actually worth it to even engage some of the dumb shit that I hear and the dumb shit that I get told or attacked with. It's like, does their opinion affect me personally at all? Am I going to let, this person's misguided, unhinged fucking rants that they've spent all night writing, like this 30 post, like weird ass reply where they're essentially talking to themselves using you as the vehicle? Do I really care enough, number one, to read it? Number two, to respond to it like point by fucking point? Am I really going to spend 2 or 3 hours on this rando on the internet who apparently forgot I'm human and has something to prove? No, I don't give a fuck. You can just talk to your fucking self. I don't give a shit. So, understand that, like, when you're wrong, you need to think about it. So, like, if you get a legitimate criticism, somebody who maybe even is really pissed off at you, and you give it a little bit of thought and you're like, no, this is bullshit. There's no reason for you to deeply engage that. Like, you still believe the same thing you believed. They're just mad. And they can continue being mad. And they probably have lots of underlying reasons why they're doing the shit they're doing and why they came at you specifically. Like, it may be some sensitivity that they have or some baggage they're dragging behind them, just same as you're dragging yours. Like, it might not have anything to actually do with you. And you try to think about the why of why people get, deeply involved in this stuff. And you watch their patterns over time. Like, if they habitually get themselves involved in drama, they just really like drama, and they're taking out something in their own life online on people that don't have the ability to get in their face or, have any tangible fucking consequences. It has nothing to do with you. They're just a broken person doing broken shit. And do you really want to feed into that by giving them more reason to continue doing what they're doing? No. That doesn't help you. That doesn't help them either.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you say this too, because I actually recently just went through something on my Instagram, which I have never had an incident on my Instagram before. And it was discussing my I guess what you would call my Halloween costume, I suppose. But I like doing like folkloric things from like obviously non-closed, mostly Europe, right? England, Ireland, that kind of thing, places that I'm have descended from, and I was really interested in dressing as the Mari Lwyd.
I was just thinking that Mari Lwyd would be a hysterical Halloween costume. You just have to get a horse skull.
I actually ended up getting that. I not a horse, it's not a real skull because it's expensive. So I'm using it was a skull, a unicorn skull, but I took the horn off.
Oh,
and I already have like sheets coming in and everything, and a Welsh practitioner the next morning after my post decided to essentially shame me. He didn't claim appropriation, which is kind of what I thought he was getting at, but he didn't ever use that word. And he was like, his words were, I don't understand why it is that everyone outside of Wales thinks that the Mari Lwyd is a Halloween or I have a hard time pronouncing Welsh words, but the Welsh Halloween is something to the effect of a Nos Scalan Gaif. which is essentially, like I said, Welsh Halloween. And he said, essentially it's actually really a Christmas or a Yuletide celebration, even though there is research to show that it does come out more on the Hallows Tide. It's fell out of favor in more recent years. And
it was the case of somebody's wrong on the internet and I'm going to tell them. Yeah.
I also feel like old world people need to understand that the new world is just a simulacrum of the old world, and they have to get over it being wrong because it's going to be wrong. Thank you. Good night. Continue.
He went on to, right, and he went on to post not one but two posts about essentially me without calling me out. The first one was pretty much just saying, Mary Lwyd is Welsh and all this stuff. Even though I had never said anything different about the Mary Lwyd. I wasn't claiming she was Celtic in any way. I didn't even I had hashtagged Samhain, but it wasn't because I was trying to make a connection to the Mary Lwyd directly. Just the time periods or the times of year that are relevant. Mm-hmm. Which Samhain is New Year. And it wasn't really to say that Mary Lwyd once again was Celtic in any way or Irish in any way.
You weren't making these broad scale assumptions, and she came at you out of the gate like you were, yeah.
Yeah, and then the second post was much more like defaming and mean, where it was pretty much it was he made a meme where he said people who dress up as Mary Lwyd for Halloween. And it's like it had it was like a meme, so it was like just some character, and it had like there was like the Welsh, and it had like the Welsh flag, and it was some guy dressed as an armadillo, and what the Welsh think, basically saying like we think you're an armadillo or whatever,
Good Lord.
I was just kind of like, and I ended up, now it's funny because given my anxiety, I ended up messaging him. It's like, hey, and I made it really lighthearted at first. And I was like, hey, given, your shit posting, and I made it lighthearted, like it didn't have to be an argument, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because I was like, I really hate the idea of like offending someone, you know what I mean? Like, and I wanted to have an actual conversation, a civil, polite conversation that he completely ignored. But after talking to like a lot of people and kind of sitting with myself, I realized that like this is also one of those things where, like you were just saying, yeah, he didn't even follow me. He never followed me, this person. So I was like, he really just sought out a hashtag and decided to lash out. He picked someone on the internet, if you will, and I was like, it really was just a hateful sort of attack, and he didn't give me a chance to explain where I learned about the Mary Lwyd, and which was from the Witchcraft Museum in Boscastle, England. Actually, they bring out the Mary Lwyd twice a year during Samhain, their New Year, and Yuletide during the Christmas season, and which I felt would have been, I don't know, but no, I really had to kind of, like you were saying, Fish, kind of draw the conclusions to kind of come back from that, because it actually fucked with me a little bit, because it was really, like, I felt very hurt, and I was like, did I do something wrong? Like, am I at fault here? But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
Like it's weird. Like somebody has a bad day or a bad week, and they have a chip on their shoulder, and they go online and they're trying to blow off some steam, and they just go out looking for a fight. And it doesn't really matter who they're fighting with. It's the fact that they're releasing their steam valve, but they forget that the person they're releasing their steam valve on is another human being whose existence is just as vivid and complicated and troubled as theirs is. They don't care. It's just a dump. And it's frustrating to see that, like when you see somebody who just clearly came looking for a fight and they didn't care who it was with. I mean, you go from having a bad day to bitching on the internet about part of the hooded animal folkloric trend, which is which if you look at it is part of what Mary Lwyd is. I mean, and it's a lighthearted thing. Fertility rituals and a lot of different things are bringing fertility back they're supposed to be lighthearted. They're supposed to be fucking funny. I mean, the meme is not wrong, okay? Mary Lwyd, you are basically rap battling a horse skull.
Yep.
For access to your pantry and your stash of beer. And if you cannot out rap in this rap battle, this horse skull at your door. You have to let them in, and then they will drink all your beer and raid your pantry. That's it's hysterically funny.
Yeah, and you have to.
Why are you gonna get butthurt about this stuff on the internet? It does not matter. It doesn't hurt the spiritual process that Mariluid is part of. Mariluid themselves does not give a fuck. Why do you?
Right.
Like, don't take out your anger at your job or your spouse or your kids or something that happened in your life on random ass people on the internet over shit that legit does not matter. You're just talking to hear yourself. It's like I don't know. It's just, it feels like a huge waste of time.
That's the conclusion that I drew from that. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't used to Instagram being a source of that. I was always so used to my my Instagram space being actually very polite and easygoing. You know, so yeah, definitely, it was definitely surprising to see that kind of shift.
Sometimes I think people over intellectualize things like that, because I was just thinking of the guy's initial question was, why does everyone associate this with Halloween? I'll tell you why. Because the thing is fucking terrifying. That's why.
It's a horse skull in a hood. Yeah,
right. It's scary.
And yeah.
And people go, that would be a dope Halloween costume. And that's how that happens.
And honestly, like, I don't understand why and I mean, I understand the concept of open and closed systems and open and closed beliefs. Like, I have some closed beliefs, I have some open beliefs. But in terms of something that is distinctly based out of regional folklore, for which, like, Mariluid in one area, I mean, Mariluid specifically is South Wales, but, like, depending on where you're from in South Wales, the presentation could be very different. And it's part of a larger current within folklore itself. Folklore is not heavily codified for a reason, because from county to county and village to village, shit's gonna be different.
Yeah.
And, like, spreading awareness of like, I didn't know who the fuck Mariluid was until I saw the meme, which is hysterically funny to me. And so I started on this fucking rabbit hole reading about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's part of this aspect of folklore that I did know about. It's like, why is bringing that to the forefront if it is an open, and a lot of the folklore of that area is very open, because we have so much like spread. I mean, you have so many folks that have Welsh descent in the United States, all over Europe, all this other stuff. Why is it wrong to carry those things with us and make people more aware of them? If we're talking about, like, the spiritual side of things, awareness of that egregore, whether the archetypal side of the egregore or specifically Mariluid itself, that makes it more powerful.
Right.
I have
gives
a lot
it
to
more
scream into
fucking
the void about
imminence.
this.
Like, and it's an open practice, so why you gotta be like this, yo? Anyway,
So here's the thing that
thank you for
really
coming to my TED
fucks
Talk.
with me. Yeah, and on that point, here's something that really fucks with me. It's really similar to, like, how do I put this? You ever notice how people just assume that people in the West are morally bankrupt, godless, yet also will simultaneously deny them access to any type of culture or tradition that isn't immediately tied to the modern conception of Americana? So it's like the place of your birth immediately lashes you to all of these conceptions that everyone has about you. And it doesn't matter if you're, like, indigenous or not. If you're trying to access the practices of your ancestors, you almost always get shit on, right? Native people get shit on when they're doing it. Like, people who are descended from white European get shitted on. They're like, you're not from Wales anymore. Like you're supposed to just suffer for existing.
Yeah,
You're supposed to just be the fucking hated and the damned, and fuck you. That's what it really feels like half the time, honest to God.
It's really weird. Like, people forget that the US is, in large part at this point, which is unfortunate, but is true, a nation full of immigrants, and people came here from lots of different places, and they carried their cultural traditions with them. The reason that Americans, and really North Americans in general, that are not indigenous, and really a lot of them are, because of how much destruction's been done to their cultures. are constantly trying to find themselves and reach back through their own heritage is because this is a nation that is less than 400 years old. Yeah, we have some things of our own, but we all also have, a lot of us have little familial threads here and there to where our people came from. And I'm sorry, white ain't an identity.
Right.
No,
It's
fucking identity.
Not. It's fucking not, because I can say I grew up white. That was my fucking identity. And I know it sounds, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to sound, but I had no fucking culture growing up. Like, there was no particular foods that were like in our blood, in our passed down in our family. There was no foods, there was no rituals, there was no even little sayings or anything like that. There was no magic.
Well, I mean, a lot of people came here to change everything about themselves. Coming to a new country is the opportunity to start over and invent yourself as you wish you were, as you want to be. So a lot of people did let go of their traditions, their ethnic traditions, their regional traditions. They let them go. They changed their names. They reinvented themselves and became something else. But the problem with that is that their children, their children's children, their great, 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 great grandchildren are left going, who the fuck am I?
God
and
damn.
They want a sense of collective identity, and they want a sense, and collective identity isn't just like,
come from.
Like, and I mean, it's like the rest of the world just wants us to be like, America, fuck yeah, and cheeseburgers and apple pie and
they'll hate you for that, but they'll also condemn you the moment you fucking deviate from it.
It's weird. Like, I understand that people are very protective of their regional and their ethnic traditions, and they should be, because this shit gets appropriated, it gets misunderstood, it gets commercialized, it gets dragged, it loses so much deep, rich cultural context over centuries and centuries. And they have to be protective, but like, friend and foe, dude, don't swing at the people who are well-meaning. Don't.
That's why I wanted to have the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to show him that I could pronounce Mari Lwyd, like I know how to pronounce. I know the origin, South Wales. I know, the potential, equestrian ancient, animistic Welsh equestrian deity cult. So, like, I know a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not ignorant of the Mari Lwyd. I've sat here and researched for hours just out of sheer interest. You know what I mean? And I wanted to show that, but that wasn't the conversation this person was interested in having.
Oh, they weren't actually talking to you. They were just venting their shit, and you were the convenient moving target. That's the thing. Like,
most times it's it's straw manning is most times. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's a shit show claw game, and you happen to be the one that they caught in the claw for a second.
Right. Another issue that I wanted to bring up too, and this is once again about pagan spaces and social media, is and I guess it kind of applies to kind of this idea of like the occult and famous, the pagan and famous kind of thing, where like people, there's these very loose loyalties. Like with that thing, that incident in mind, people who liked my post about my Halloween costume were liking this person's post, making fun.
The reactions are super confusing sometimes, right?
Right, and like that's, and honestly, I like, even though it hurt at first, I actually got more curious, because I've rallied very hard, because I used to be really leaning very heavy into this whole, like, the pagan and occult authors are like, the celebrities, like that kind of nonsense. When I was younger, I leaned real hard into that, and as I've gotten older, I've kind of just been like, I completely reject it. I like their books, I like reading, but they are not, worshipable, beings. You know what I mean? They're just people.
They're not.
You know what I mean?
It's true what they say. Never meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes.
Yeah, like, and that was a curious phenomenon.
No, I was saying, like, absolutely. I was actually at a retreat. So, like, Amy Blackthorne, she's kind of, I guess one of the popular, like, Tradwitch writers. She writes a lot about herbalism and stuff like that. So I was actually at a retreat with her, like, for Samhain. She went to the same retreat. She had like a couple books there. She was selling some stuff, and she was like one of their guests at this thing. And it was funny because like I already like knew her. I was already like I talked to her on Facebook and stuff, and because she's been to like Philly Pagan Pride because she's local, and it was just funny. Like there was these other people there, and it was when Amy was doing one of her workshops, and this one lady just like kept saying to me like, isn't she amazing? Isn't she just she's just everything. And she like was really like
Lord.
idolizing her in a way, like you would like a celebrity. And don't get me wrong, Amy is super awesome and cool, and like she's really
very nice.
She's a very
really
chill person. So yeah,
But
everything the woman was
she
saying
probably doesn't want to be put on a pedestal
right
at all.
exactly. And but she's also very humble. So like, and it was just like my interaction with this lady, I was like, yeah, she's cool. Like I was just trying to like
you're like chill, just have some chill.
I'm like,
okay,
just
calm
listen,
the fuck down.
We're all here to listen about plants. That's what we're doing today. You know, like
yeah, like it always kind of creeps me out. Like, and I'm always really sus about. I hate to use that. God, I'm Gen X and I'm using the term sus. What the fuck?
I use the word sus now too. So,
but like,
you have been zoomered.
I'm always really sus about like authors and figureheads within a culture that deliberately lean hard, like really hard in a big way into the cult of personality that forms around them. Like they cease to be as authentic, they cease to be as from the gut and as sincere as soon as they start buying into the personality cult, and they're fronting this persona that you know isn't who they are on the day-to-day basis, like the eating, sleeping, shitting, taking out the garbage, checking the mail, cleaning the cat box person underneath there. That's not who they're presenting, and it weirds me out a little bit when I see it. Like,
yeah.
And it's not a lot of folks, but the ones that are, it seems like that personality cult is very strong with them. Like they really want to have their little army of folks that when they get criticized, when they get dragged for shit they legit deserve to get dragged for, their little army of folks goes and tears that person apart. And they subtly encourage that shit. I ain't here for it. The second that I see that, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna pirate your books. Fuck you.
See, honestly, whenever someone approaches me, like, you know, for advice or information, and it's starting to trickle in a little bit with the podcast, right? Like sometimes we get questions, or like we get those emails like, hey, you guys are awesome, and I like listening to you, and you're really helping me, and I'm like, fuck, there's so much pressure now. Like,
well, I love to get the feedback, but I'm not sure what to say.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of like the difference between like I guess people who feed into it, right? So like there'd be some people out there that'd be like that, I don't know, it gives them that that dopamine, that serotonin, that whatever happy chemical, right? Like they're like, "Oh, yes, you know." I feel like that's what it does to them, and to me it just trips all my alarms. Because I want to, but in a good way, you know what I mean? Like it's a healthy kind of anxiety, because I want to deliver, I want to give back, you know what I mean? I want to give back the same vibes that you're giving me. So
exactly, like you really want to be able to exchange that, but you don't want to be like, behold, I am benevolent and magnanimous, you know. You want to be like, hey, fucking thank you, I really love hearing that. If you want to just hang out, like, and this is the thing, like,
yes,
fucking hit me up. I do not make myself hard to find. Like, none of us do.
No.
Like, if you want to talk, fucking hit us up.
We're on the Discord all the time because we're like adminning our other servers. So if you like literally stop by the Witches Betwixt Discord and tag us, we like almost can't not respond to it. Also, something I was going to swing into tying to mention there was, if it helps you meet your heroes, or sorry, not even meet your heroes, but get that praise from people who have listened to your work. I learned about a concept recently called cyclical storytelling, which is where something starts in one spot and it keeps going, and then the roles get reversed and it continues, and it's basically the same thing, but it's reversed and flipped around, right? And it's kind of like that. Like, for us to get where we are now, somebody had to have inspired us. Right. And we had those people growing up, and Fish actually had this experience because one of the people who she grew up reading his books is actually a member on our server.
Oh God, I sweat
totally
so hard.
A chill dude. And like, I didn't even get to know him as an author first. I just got to know him as a person. He's so fucking cool. Like, I just chat with him. I'm like, yo, That's just a screen name. I don't mind saying it.
Yeah, no, we're talking about the author of Quantum Sorcery and Voidworking, specifically Dave Smith. Which, Dave, if you're listening to this, you're fucking awesome, and it's really hard not to fangirl at you even now. Just saying.
And like he's just like a real chill person. And eventually one day Fisher was like, yeah, just so you know, he's like a really big author and stuff. I'm like, oh shit, cool. But it's kind of like it's cyclical, you know what I mean? Like I'm a content creator too at this point. We all are in this room, right? And we're going to naturally inspire other people the way that we have. Humility is a real big thing in my practice and in my personal life, and trying not to put myself up on airs like I'm better than other people just because I've arrived at a point where I'm able to actually produce stuff that helps other people, you know, because other people are going to get there. And the hard truth is they're going to be better at it when they do, because they're going to take the information that I've learned through my lessons and my refinements, pick it up, refine it themselves and make it better, and then pass it on to somebody who's going to keep doing that. And that's how we fucking evolve and grow as a human species, you know? It's a natural process of what makes us better. And I don't think that we should really be like shying away from it, you know?
No,
like,
fuck that. Like if we do our jobs right, they're going to be way fucking better than us.
Exactly. and like people coming up to you and saying, you know, thank you for what you've inspired me to do. You shouldn't really have to do anything other than just smile and get a warm feeling and say, you're welcome. I'm glad that I could help you the way that somebody helped me. Because that's all that it really is. They're not like, unless they're one of those people who's developed a parasocial relationship where like they think that somehow you're personally communicating to them. They're not really expecting something out of you half the time. Like when I go up to an artist who really I love their music and I like message them or like leave a review on their Bandcamp or something, I'm not doing that because I expect them to respond. I want them to know how much I value their art so they keep doing it, because god damn it, it feels tiring to scream into the void and have nobody like chip back, you know? And honestly, with the internet, we're so used to hearing negative feedback as opposed to positive feedback that, you know, it can feel off-putting at first because we don't even have the neural fucking pathways developed to react to it, you know, because it happens so seldomly. So
yeah,
you just kind of gotta take it in stride, not let it fucking puff you up too much, because then you stop being the thing that's really helping people and you give into that cult of personality, right? And as long as you can do that, it's just kind of like surfing or skateboarding, you know, you got to go with the flow. And if suddenly you think that you're 100% of in control of something, try skating down a giant hill and I promise you, you ain't.
God,
You
like
know?
I've made a habit of something, and this is going to sound super toxic, and I apologize. I don't write bad reviews. I do write critical reviews sometimes if somebody's doing like they've got a really problematic take on some shit and they're really wrong. But in general, I and it's easy to do it on the internet because all you ever hear is people bitching. So like I don't write casually nasty reviews about people. If I love a book, if I love a piece of music, if I love an artist, like I will tell them that I love them and I will explain all the things that I love about it. But if it's not really to my tooth, or, you know, I think one little thing is like not quite right, or I don't agree with something, I'm not going to get into a big fucking fight with them. They actually put themselves out there. They're the ones that published it, that made the art, that made the music, that made the composition, that came up with the tech. I'm not going to be that person that goes onto the internet with a chip on my fucking shoulder looking for a fight to tear somebody fucking down to make myself feel better. Like that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. That's not who I want anybody else to be. Like if they've got a problematic take, a really problematic take, like with Stargirl the other day, it's like, I will drag your ass 6 ways to Sunday. But those moments are very rare and not much shit warrants that. But like if an author or a musician or an artist that I love is having a bad fucking day, a bad day, I want that review to be there just in case they happen to glance at it on a day when they need to see it and get reminded of why they're doing it. Because I'd rather them be making content. I'd rather them be making their art and, you know, taking in that strange joy of creation and shit, and not getting discouraged by having a bad day and having a bunch of shitty reviews that they didn't ask to see and, you know, are completely high-handed and unnecessary. Like, I don't come to the internet to be fucking nasty. As much as I rant, as much as I bitch, I'm not here to be fucking nasty, and that's not the environment I want to cultivate for other people, so I don't. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I like that you mentioned Starhill again. I don't know if you saw the article that dropped in our Inner Circle channel, but it turns out that Starhill was correct.
The Starhill was making a 50-50 guess.
True. I mean, that is also true, but I guess the way, people are looking at it, well, technically.
They were right. They were right. If you look at domestic violence cases and deaths, if you look statistically at it, there's only a few ways that could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
She rolled the fucking dice and guessed.
Yeah. But,
I mean, and I know that there's some astrology involved in this. I get that. I'm not discounting astrology in the fucking slightest. That is not what this person is doing.
No.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Not gonna be nasty. Be nasty.
Now that I just saw that article pop up and I was like, God damn it! Like the one person you didn't want to be right, you were like, son of a bitch.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, there was a good chance she was gonna be right, but it wasn't gonna be because of some deep-seated understanding of
the cosmos,
the cosmos, or Gabby Petito, or anything else. It's looking at domestic violence statistics and the most likely causes of death and picking one.
That's very true.
So like I do not discount astrology in the slightest. Like, I didn't grow up learning about it. I'm learning about it as an adult. I am not well versed, but at the same time, if you're going to make a cold red guess, which is essentially what this fucking was, you just use the data to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I know that she's probably real up her own ass right now about this.
Oh, yeah. And that's where my mind went. I was like, this chick is probably like, oh my God.
That's the shame of it. That's the part that's just like, fuck, because that now that she's made that prediction and was proven right this time,
so
she's going to be
the ego inflation. It's
just smug fuckery for days. Yeah.
And that is what really grinds my gears.
Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't worry about it too much. Someone's going to maleficarum her just because I know the internet has no shortage of catty bitches and catty witches.
Really?
And if
I'm one of them. Yeah.
And if I have
I'm not coming for her, but
if I have people throwing at me for the shit I'm doing, and I'm not even doing bad shit, I'm just trying to make good spaces for people who aren't fucking Nazis. Not asking a lot, right? If I'm getting people trying to death curse me for the shit I'm doing, I guarantee you someone's working up a maleficarum so big on this woman that she is gonna wind up fucking in the hospital.
Like, it's that the mage side of someone is wrong on the internet. It's just like that's the other thing. Like, I don't spin up shit like that over bullshit on the internet unless it's literally a Nazi who could hurt a person,
right,
or someone who's exploiting a child, or some other nasty, like, actually legitimately hurtful shit. Like, I'm not going to spin that up over anything. It's expensive. It's expensive in time, in supplies, in attention, in preparation, in all the things. Like, it's all an active sacrifice. Am I willing to sacrifice this over a douchebag on the internet? No. A predator? A Nazi? Yes. But not just some asshole on the internet.
Speaking of Nazis, it kind of made me right. Speaking of Nazis, no, kind of circling back to kind of what I was originally kind of talking to you guys about. So you're kind of explaining like the development and evolution of groups, but I kind of because you guys were talking earlier about the Facebook group and how it needs cleanup. So how the fuck do you clean it up when it gets so fucked like that?
I'll explain this.
Like with Witches Betwixt, like it's so tiny right now. Like it's in that you're here because either you stumbled upon us or one of us, right? So like it's in that phase. But in your case, this is a mess.
Very simple things have proven to work, and here's what I plan on doing. As soon as I get admin rights, because I'm only a moderator, I'm going to bring in the moderator team from the Discord who are willing to help on this, and the people from the Facebook who have talked to who are willing to help on this, and we're going to member purge. We're going to purge anybody we know who isn't like an active contributing member for a certain amount of time. And those who are serious about the group, we'll even have a warning post about it. We'll say, like, we're going to be doing a massive purge, like comment here if you want to avoid it. And, we're not necessarily going to let Chudlords back in anyways. And if someone is a Chudlord, we can just turf them anyways and we owe them no explanation, right? And then you cull You cull it by the 1,000 because there's so many bloated accounts in there sitting there just taking up space. And people see the member count and they think that it's a free-for-all shit show and they can post whatever they want via the size. You bring it down into the numbers of the actual active users who are running the space. Suddenly people realize it's a kind of like a close-knit community of a few hundred people, and their shit will be caught onto really fucking fast. The entire fucking overtone window of the group shifts over fucking night. And then you have moderators who are actually doing stuff, who are actually content policing, who are actually doing things that look at their community to say, hey, how do we get this to engage with other people in a healthy manner? And you talk with your community about what they want. You engage them. You create content that you put in the community for them to interact, be it like imagery you've created or intelligent discussions or like media or what the fuck ever you're doing. You have to contribute to that community to have any part in like cleaning it up. But the first things you got to do is get rid of people. You need to get rid of the people who aren't contributing, and you need to get rid of the people who are actively harming the group. And then if people really want to contribute, they can come back and do so. And if they don't and they sit there, they can get kicked again, and a kick is different than a ban, and people need to remember that, right? Moderators have different tools that they can use for different purposes. So you don't need your group to be in the several thousands of people. That, in fact, is probably one of the worst things that you can do. What you probably want your group to be is somewhere between 50 to 500 to maybe 1,500 people at tops. Not saying you should stop letting people in past 1,500, but it doesn't do a group benefit to swell massively, because Facebook has that system of groups you might want to join, and people sit there and just click on groups to join to have fucking feed posts, right? So have like filters to ask people questions as to why they want to be in the group. Don't let people in who don't answer the fucking questions. Pretty simple. And also completely turn off member invitations so that people can't just add their friends and their sock accounts.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
the
and I
other thing is
burp.
maintaining it over time. Like, having a staff that is well acquainted with the current versions of dog whistles and the current symbolism of folks that really have no business being in our end of a culture in the fucking first place. Like, people who surreptitiously add little bitty subversions to what we're doing in the hopes of shutting up the entire group and influencing the gestalt itself. Like, you don't want it to be an echo chamber. You don't want it to be a fucking fishbowl. At the same time, you need to be able to ID people who are deliberately coming in and trying to spread imagery that is associated with shit that you do not want to proliferate in the group, like Nazi shit, specifically Nazi shit. Like, you don't want people coming in and like doing their little chuckle fuck, not subtle. Y'all aren't, if any of you fucks are listening to this, you are not fucking subtle. You're not as subtle as you think. Posting like 09A shit hidden in the backs of sigil posts. Like, y'all ain't as subtle as you think. And having a mod team that knows how to ID the current dog whistles, the current little things like, the 3 parentheses bullshit, and calling it the fuck out and not being so conflict adverse that they don't deal with it. And bring it to people's attention and pay attention to who like only crops up when it's like, oh, it's just a fucking symbol, this, that, and the others. Like, if you don't understand why that's fucking wrong, if you don't understand why we don't want that associated with us, with DKMU, with any of our symbolism, with the LS, you don't need to fucking be here. Like, you've lost the thread. You don't understand the fucking point. You never did. We have never been about that. We're not about that now. We're not going to let it become that. Like so many other occulture groups have ended up getting fucking fashed, because that's what we're fucking fighting here. Getting fashed. Getting shutted up with weird ass, like, vril, esoteric Nazi magic white people, Hyborian bullshit, and like 4chan Pepe memes. Ain't here for it. Fuck you, ain't here for it. Like, and we never were. And I think part of the problem with the Facebook group specifically is you've got a bunch of folks that are just being edgelords on the internet, and they join up on DKMU and they don't read any of the back material. They don't know what we're about. And so they are inventing what we're about in their head, and they are spreading what they think we are about to other people, who then believe their version of what shit is. We are established. Our point, our process, what we are, what we, overall agree with, where we kind of align in the moral, ethical, and political fucking spectrum, has been out there for 15 fucking years. that didn't just change overnight, or because you decided you got bored with fucking 4chan.
Yeah.
Like, and that's basically what we're fucking dealing with. Like, I don't mind lurkers. It's just, if you're gonna lurk and only come out of the woodwork to defend somebody using a fucking swastika and something, why the fuck are you here? Get out.
Yeah, essentially that. Does that answer your question, Jer?
Sorry.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, it's
yeah,
okay.
it does. Absolutely.
Yeah, because like if there's this kind of circled back to community management again, and I'll say this, I guess, before we wrap, because we're like in the last little bit and we should start giving final thoughts.
Yeah.
Building a community is kind of like playing a role-playing game, right? I know that sounds absurd, but hear me out. Right?
I can kind of see where you're going with it. Yeah, but I want to hear.
Everybody brings something to the team, to the composition, to the armada, to the whatever the fuck size structure you're building, right? And one of my first introductions to like large community structures was through competitive gaming clans, which mirrored military structure, right? And a lot of that has to do with like ranks and divisions and blah blah blah, and I don't feel that's super useful, I'm going to be completely honest with you. But one thing that does stick is bringing people in, right? And not in like the sense of military recruiting, because military recruiting is coercive and it tries to convince people to do it regardless of whether or not they actually want to, and that's completely unethical. But like inviting people to your community is what's going to make it stay alive and thrive, right? Like you can't build something and then just expect people to magically follow some link on the internet, right? So a lot of people who've come to the group have been invited by people who are in the group, and word of mouth is one of the most powerful things. So like letting people know, like what we do is we have a vouching system where if you've been around for a certain amount of time and you meet certain criteria, you get a check mark on your profile. And when you have vouched, you're able to invite friends to the server as well as see the back rooms, right? So it allows people to feel like they have a very real hand in shaping what the community is. And if they ever forget that and start shit posting too much, it's as easy as just chatting with them. Like there was actually a conversation that came up in voice chat the other day. One person I was like trying to deal with something that was happening in Domus, and one person was making jokes out of it. And they're like, sorry, do you want me to stop? And I'm like, well, I mean, it's up to you. I'm not going to give you shit for it because you're not crossing a line. But like, remember, a community is what you put into it, and what you get out of it is going to be based off of that, right? So if you want to see this person grow, it's probably helpful if you stop playing memes out of this and actually give them a chance to learn from this situation, right? And I wasn't even reprimanding them. They just honestly asked, and I just honestly said what would be best, and they were just like, oh, noted. And then everyone's just like, damn. And I'm like, yeah, because like each of you are actively contributing to the community as being a member. You contribute just as much, if not more, than an admin, right? Like the community is there for the members, right? Like it's not there for the admin to run. And people forget that, right? So the average community member who's in there like making people happy, who people want to chat to, who's bringing shit together, they need to be reminded that they're important and special and that what they're building matters, you know? And that's kind of what brings communities together.
And it seems that we have a very shy community.
We do, but that's fine.
That's
like
okay.
Not
though.
everybody feels like, and this was me for a long ass time. Like
me
I felt
too.
like
I'm still kind
of
like
I lurked for ages because it's like, well, do I have anything really useful to contribute to this conversation, or am I just talking to hear myself? And for the longest time, I was like, I'm just going to be talking to hear myself. Fuck it. I don't want to say, I'm not going to put my shit out there, not because I'm scared of criticism, but because I'm literally not bringing anything to the table that people don't already know. So, you know, and that was just me being wrapped up in my own shit. But like lurkers are okay. It's just like when you do eventually contribute, when you do see that the community is here for you, that we're fucking tight knit. I mean, on the fucking Discord, they call me Auntie Fish, and they call Omni Momni. It's a fucking thing. Like, and we're not like, you know, lovey dovey, touchy feely, you know, hug box situation. It's just, you know, you want people to feel like if they've got a fucking problem, you might be, you know, the super aggressive gin soaked auntie with the exceptionally aggressive pep talks, but you're fucking there for them. You'll go to bat for them. You'll help them unfuck the situation that they're worried about. You'll deal with it. You'll be the adult and like make it easier for them, and you can be their advocate, or you can help them figure out what they did wrong or some other shit. Like they're not, it's not a fucking popularity fucking pissing contest. You're there to support and help steward the community along, and you're volunteering your time to fucking do that. And anybody could be doing it. You know, you have that, you are fortunate enough to have the time to do it yourself. And when your time is over with, someone else will pick it up. Hopefully one of the folks that you have shown how to do it. You know, it's like we all have our tenure. We don't all stay. Everybody has their own shifts in their life and shifts in priorities and shit. That's the way that this works. It's cyclical. So like by being that person, you're demonstrating to other people how to do it when you have to fuck off and go do something else. So like you're ultimately training your replacements, but not, you know, in a very deliberate or very obvious way.
I did want to ask one quick question. So, and I know, and after this we can kind of wrap up, but do you guys find this, like with DKMU in particular, is there a lack of like finding people interested in being like support staff, like volunteering, mods, whatever? So you guys don't have a lack of that. Okay, that's interesting.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Huh. That seems to be unique to your particular community, because I've kind of noticed that in online communities that I'm in other ones, and also just, you know, volunteer events like, you know, Pagan Pride and stuff like that. So I've just kind of noticed that there seems to be somewhat of a disinterest, perhaps, in kind of volunteering. Or so like I just kind of want to put this out there for anyone. So if you're the kind of person who really wants to give your time to some sort of organization, but maybe you're afraid that you don't have enough skills, whatever, to bring to the table. I'm using air quotes, you can't see me. Stop thinking that shit, because the chances are that organization probably needs some help, you know? So, you know, don't bring yourself down, because, you know, there's a lot of communities out there, whether physical or online. With the exception of DKMU, they seem to have a surplus of readily available people, which is amazing, and I love that for you guys. But just as like a general rule of thumb out there, like any other community, just generally they're looking for help, usually.
Yeah, so. I mean, and like we collectively control the culture environment that we're in. Everywhere that we're present, we have that's within the reach of our arm, and anything's within the reach of your arm, you can fucking change a little bit. So if you're in a bunch of communities that you don't like, or you don't like the environment, or you're kind of like, nah, this is getting weird, fucking step up. It's within your control to fucking fix it. Start doing it.
Yeah. So, and sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, any final thoughts that if we wanted to wrap up there, or did you have like a concluding thought here, Sophia?
Y'all go first.
If you're listening to this, I want you to pick something that you've read or seen recently and write an awesome fucking review for it. Tell them how much you love them.
Ooh, and then tell us what it was that you reviewed, because we're interested.
Yeah, let us know. Show us the cool shit that you love.
Show us the review.
I need new content. You know?
Anybody else?
Go make somebody else fucking day. Sorry.
Be kind to people on the internet. You don't know what somebody else is going through.
That is very true. That is very true. It's hard sometimes, because sometimes my first reaction is to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, no lie.
How about you, Sophia? Concluding thoughts for this evening?
Drugs ain't so bad.
There's a quote by Hunter S. Thompson. Let me find it.
Ooh, we're gonna go out with a quote. I like this. We're gonna play ourselves out on a quote. I like it.
Yeah, let me fucking find it real quick.
And Hunter S. Thompson, of all writers, too, he is just a maniac.
I adore Hunter S. Thompson. I adore him. Let me see if I can do it in his voice.
There we go.
I hate to advocate drugs, alcohol, and violence or insanity to anybody, but they've always worked for me. Yeah, there you go. Hunter S. Thompson. Fucking lad.
Love it.
Fucking lad.
Yeah. Well, also, Terrence McKenna. He's cool.
Terrence McKenna. Oh, yeah.
Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up here, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.